The good Odysseus now lay down to sleep in the portico. He spread an untanned ox hide on the floor and piled it up with plenty of fleeces from sheep that the suitors slaughtered daily, and Eurynome put a blanket over him when he had settled down. As he lay there wide awake, brewing trouble for his rivals, a group of women, the suitors' regular mistresses, came trooping out of the house, giggling and joking among themselves. Odysseus's anger rose in him. For a long time he debated in his mind and heart what to do. Should he leap up and put them all to death, or should he let them spend this one last night in the arms of the arrogant suitors? His heart growled within him, as a bitch growls standing guard over her helpless pups, ready to fight when she sees a stranger. In the same way, he growled inside himself in outrage at their wickedness. But striking his chest, he called his heart to order and said,
"Patience, my heart. You had something far more ignominious than this to endure when the invincible Cyclops devoured your brave comrades, and yet you managed to hold out till your cunning motion got you clear of the cave where you had thought your end had come."
But though Odysseus was able, by such self-rebuke, to quell all mutiny in his heart and steel it to endure steadily, nevertheless he could not help twisting and turning, just as a paunch stuffed with fat and blood is turned this way and that in the blaze of the roaring fire by a man who wants to get it quickly roasted. Twisting and turning, he pondered how, single-handed against such odds, he could get his hands on the shameless suitors, when Athene descended from heaven and approached him in the form of a woman. She stood above his head and spoke to him. "Sleepless again, Odysseus, most ill-fated of mortals? And why? This is your home. Your wife is inside, and so is your son, a youth whom any man might wish to have for a son."
"Goddess,"
replied Odysseus, the master schemer,
"all that you say is true, and yet my heart is in some perplexity. How am I to get my hands on these shameless suitors? I am alone, whereas they are always together in a crowd when they are here. And there's another and still more perplexing matter on my mind. If by Zeus's will and yours I kill them, where could I go to escape vengeance? I ask you to consider these problems."
"You really are incorrigible," exclaimed the bright-eyed goddess. "Most people are content to put their trust in far inferior allies, mere mortals entirely devoid of cunning such as mine. But I, who have never ceased to watch over you in all your adventures, am a goddess. I will make my meaning plain. You and I could be surrounded by 50 companies of men-at-arms, all thirsting for our blood, but you would still drive away their cows and sheep. Come now, go to sleep. It is wearying to lie awake and keep watch the whole night through, and presently you will rise above your troubles." With which the lady goddess closed his eyes in sleep and returned to Olympus. But no sooner had sleep come to Odysseus, resolving all his cares as it relaxed his limbs, than his faithful wife awoke, and sitting up in her soft bed, gave way to tears. Then, tired of weeping, she made a special prayer to Artemis.
"Artemis, lady goddess, daughter of Zeus. Oh, for an arrow from your bow to pierce my heart and take away my spirit in this very hour. Or let the storm wind snatch me up and carry me down the misty ways to drop me where the stream of ocean circles back on itself, just as the daughters of Pandares, who were carried away by the demons of the storm. The gods had killed their parents and left them orphaned in their home, but the divine Aphrodite nourished them on cheese, sweet honey and mellow wine. Hera made them beautiful and wise beyond all other women. Chaste Artemis made them tall, and Athene taught them the skills to make beautiful things. But there came a day when divine Aphrodite went to high Olympus to ask Zeus the Thunderer, who knows everything that is destined or not destined for mankind, to grant these girls a happy marriage. And on that very day the storm fiend snatched them up and handed them over to the tender mercies of the avenging Furies, the dreaded Erinyes. Gods of Olympus, annihilate me like that, or strike me dead, Artemis of the beautiful hair, so that I may sink underneath the hateful earth with Odysseus's image in my heart, rather than delight the heart of a lesser man. Grief is endurable when one weeps with an ache in the heart during the day, but can at least sleep at night and forget everything, good and bad, once one's eyelids close. But all that a god sends me are bad dreams. This very night again I thought I saw Odysseus by me in bed, looking exactly as he looked when he sailed away with his army, and my heart leapt up, because I took it for no dream but reality.
Close on her words, golden-throned dawn appeared. The noble Odysseus caught the sound of her weeping, and as he mused about it, he imagined he could see her beside him, with the light of recognition in her eyes. He took the blanket and the sheepskins from his bed, and put them on a chair, carried the ox hide out and laid it down, then lifted up his hands in prayer.
O Father Zeus, if it is true that after all your persecution, you gods willed to bring me home over dry land and sea to my own country, let someone in the palace where they are waking now utter a word of good omen for me, and let some other sign outside the palace be given.
That was his prayer. Far above the clouds, Zeus the counsellor heard it, and thundered in the clear sky. Noble Odysseus rejoiced, and close upon this, from within the palace, there came the words he wanted, from a female slave in a building nearby, where the king's hand-mills stood. 12 women had to toil away at these mills, grinding barley and wheat for nourishing bread. At the moment they had all ground their share and gone off to sleep, except one not so vigorous as the rest, who had not yet finished her task. This woman stopped her mill now and uttered the words of omen for her master.
Zeus, Lord of gods and men, how loudly you thundered from a starry sky, and never a cloud in sight. You must have meant it as a sign for someone. Listen to poor me too, and let my wish come true. Let today's be the very last of the suitors' sumptuous feasts in Odysseus's palace. My knees have grown weak from the heart-breaking drudgery of grinding corn for the suitors. May this be their last dinner, say I.
The woman's words of omen combined with the clap of thunder to make Odysseus a happy man. He felt that a crushing revenge on the sinners was assured. By this time the other maids were stirring in Odysseus's fine palace and making up the fire, which never quite died down on the hearth. Telemachus got up from his bed, looking like a young god, and put on his clothes. He slung his sharp sword from his shoulder, bound a beautiful pair of sandals on his glistening feet, picked up his great bronze-pointed spear, and made his way to the threshold of the hall, where he spoke to Euryclea. "Nurse, dear," he said, "did you women attend properly to our visitor here, in the matter of food and bedding? Or did he sleep as best he could? That would be just like my mother, who for all her wisdom is far too ready to make much of a lesser man, and send a better man packing."
"Come, my child,"
said the level-headed Euryclea.
"I wish you wouldn't blame your mother when there is no cause. The man sat and drank as long as he wanted. As for food, he said he had no appetite for more. Your mother asked him, and when the time came to think of sleep, she told the servants to make him a proper bed. But like a poor fellow utterly down on his luck, he refused to sleep between blankets on a bed, and lay down instead on an undressed hide and some sheepskins in the portico. It was we who spread a blanket over him."
That was her account. Telemachus set out from the hall, spear in hand, escorted by 2 hunting dogs, and made his way to the assembly place to join his fellow countrymen. Meanwhile, the daughter of Ops, Paisonor's son, the excellent Euryclea, issued her orders to the maids.
"To work,"
she called.
"You there, sweep and sprinkle the floors. Look sharp about it and spread the purple coverings on those special chairs. And you, sponge all the tables down, and wash the wine bowls and those precious 2-handled cups. And you others run off to the well and fetch us some water as quick as you can. We shall soon have the suitors in the hall. They're coming early. Today's a festival."
The girls heard and obeyed. 20 went off to draw water from the dark waters of the well, while the rest got on efficiently with the work indoors. The haughty men-servants next appeared, and chopped up the firewood in a neat and businesslike manner. The maids soon came back from the well, and after them came the swineherd, who drove up 3 fatted hogs, the pick of all his beasts. He left the animals to root around for food in the spacious courtyard, and came up to Odysseus, whom he greeted affably.
"Well, friend, are the suitors behaving better towards you, or do they still treat you like dirt?"
"Ah, Eumaeus,
Answered the resourceful Odysseus.
how I hope that the gods may someday pay the villains out for their insults and outrageous behaviour in another man's house. They don't feel a spark of shame."
While the two were talking together, up came Melanthius, the goatherd, driving in the choice goats from his flocks for the suitors' table. There were 2 other herdsmen with him. They tethered the goats under the echoing portico, and Melanthius began baiting Odysseus once more.
"What, you still here? Still set on begging from the gentleman and upsetting the whole house, rather than pack yourself off? I fancy that you and I will have to sample each other's fists before we say goodbye. I don't like your way of begging, and anyhow, this house is not the only one where people dine."
To this, crafty Odysseus made no reply. He merely shook his head in silence, though his heart brooded on revenge. A 3rd new arrival was the master cowherd, Philotius, who was driving in a heifer and some fatted goats for the suitors. These beasts had been brought over from the mainland by the ferrymen, who take across any travellers who arrive. Philotius carefully tethered his animals under the echoing portico, and came up to the swineherd and asked,
"Who is this stranger that has just come to our house? Who does he say his people are? Where is his family, and what is his native land? He seems down on his luck, and yet he has the bearing of a king. But even kings are allotted misery in their lives. As for mere wandering beggars, the gods completely submerged them."
With this he went up to Odysseus, proffered his hand and greeted him with winged words.
"A welcome to you, old friend. You are in deep trouble now, but here's to your future happiness. Father Zeus, you are the cruelest of gods. You have no compunction about dealing out misfortunes, misery, and suffering to us men. Yet it was you who caused us to be born.
Why, did he screw your mother as well?
My friend, when I caught sight of you just now, the sweat broke out on me, and my eyes are still filled with tears, because you bring Odysseus to my mind. For I reckon that he too, in just such rags as you have on, must be a wanderer on the face of the earth, if indeed he is alive and can still see the sunshine. If not, if he is dead and gone to Hades' halls, then here's a sigh for Odysseus, that marvellous man who put me in charge of his cattle in the Cephallenian country when I was only a youth. And now those broad-browed herds of mine are too many to count. Like ears of ripening corn, never could any mere mortal man's cattle breed better. But now these outsiders order me to bring them in, just for themselves to eat, not caring for his son's presence in the house, or fearing the wrath of a god. Indeed, the king has been away so long that nothing will content them now, but to share out his goods. And what a quandary for me, I keep turning it over and over in my mind. With a son of his alive, it seems quite wrong for me to take myself and all my herds to foreign parts and strange people. Yet it is more difficult still to stay here and live a life of hardship, tending cattle that have passed to other hands. I'd have run away long ago and found some great prince to protect me, since things have come to such a pass that I can't bear it. But I still have hopes of my unhappy master. I still think he may turn up from somewhere and drive these suitors headlong through the palace.
Yeah, give it a few hours,
Cowherd,
replied the quick-witted Odysseus.
you are clearly an honourable and thoughtful man, and I can tell you are a man who can be trusted. So here's a piece of news for you, which I vouch for with my solemn oath. I swear by Zeus before all other gods, and by the hospitable table and hearth of the good Odysseus, which I have reached, that before you leave Ithaca, Odysseus will be back, and if you wish you shall see with your own eyes the killing of these suitors who play the part of master here.
Stranger,
Said the cowherd in reply.
may Zeus grant all that you say may happen. You'd soon know my mettle and what I can do with my right arm.
And Eumaeus added a prayer to all the gods that the wise Odysseus might come back home again. While they were talking, the suitors were once again devising schemes for Telemachus's murder, when a bird of omen appeared on their left, a soaring eagle with a trembling dove in its talons. Amphinomus rose and said,
Friends, our plot to kill Telemachus won't succeed. Let's think about the feast.
His suggestion pleased them, and they adjourned to the noble Odysseus's palace, where they threw down their cloaks on seats and chairs, and proceeded to slaughter the large sheep, the fatted goats and pigs, and a cow from the herd. They roasted and served the inner parts, and mixed the wine in bowls. The swineherd laid a cup for each man. The master herdsman, Philotius, served them with bread in fine dishes. Melanthius went round with the wine, and they helped themselves to the good food spread before them. Wait, have they made any libations to the gods? Because that seems to be a big no-no if they haven't, which probably just shows their character. Telemachus, with a clever calculation, chose for Odysseus a place by the stone threshold, just within the great hall, where he placed a battered stool for him and a diminutive table. He helped him to the entrails, poured him some wine in a golden cup, and said, "Now sit and drink with the company. I will protect you from any insolence or blows from them. This is not an inn, but the palace of Odysseus, which I inherited from him. And you suitors refrain from all provocation and violence, so that we may have no brawls or wrangling here." It amazed them that Telemachus should have the audacity to address them in this style. They all bit their lips, and the only comment came from Antinous, Eupeithes' son, who said,
Well, sirs, offensive as it is, I suppose we must put up with this demand from Telemachus. His tone was certainly menacing. Zeus has obviously frustrated us, otherwise we would have silenced him here, shrill and vociferous though he is.
Antinous had his say, but Telemachus took not the slightest notice of him. Meanwhile, in the town, the beasts destined for sacrifice on this holy day were being led by heralds through the streets, and the long-haired Achaean townsfolk were congregating in the shady grove of Apollo the archer. But the party in the palace, after the outer flesh had been roasted, taken off the spits, and carved up, devoted themselves to the pleasures of the table. The serving men gave Odysseus his fair share, which was the same as they got themselves, in accordance with the instructions of his son Telemachus. But Athene had no intention of letting the arrogant suitors abandon their caustic insults. She wished the anguish to bite deeper yet into the heart of Laertes' son Odysseus. Again, she really, really wants to get him very angry so that he kills everybody. They had among them a man with no sense of right and wrong, whose name was Ctesippus. He lived in Same, and he too, confident in his fabulous wealth, was courting the wife of the long-absent king. He now addressed the high and mighty suitors.
My noble lords, listen to me. I have something to say. Our guest has already been served with a fair share, as is only proper, for it would be neither good manners nor common decency to stint any friends of Telemachus who came to the house.
It is not your guest.
But look, I am going to make him a present worthy of a guest, so that he may have something valuable to pass on to the bath attendant, or one of the other servants in the palace of good Odysseus.
With this he laid his great hand on a cow's hoof that was in the bowl and hurled it at him. I was waiting for that. But Odysseus avoided it by tilting his head slightly to one side. And the only sign of his anger, as the missile struck the solid wall, was a grim sardonic smile. Telemachus rounded on Ctesippus at once.
It was lucky for you, Ctesippus, that my guest dodged and you didn't hit him, for if you had, I'd have run you through with my spear, and your father would have held a funeral here instead of a wedding. Understand, I won't have this disgraceful behaviour from anyone in my house. I have learnt to use my brains by now, and to know right from wrong. My childhood is a thing of the past, and although I must, and do, put up with the sight of all of this, the slaughtered sheep, the wine and bread consumed, since I could hardly stop you all single-handed, refrain from these wicked and malicious acts against me. But if you are all set now to murder me, well, I should prefer it so, and think it a far better thing to die than day after day to look on while disgraceful things like this are done. My guests are maltreated, and my maids are hauled about this lovely house for your foul purposes.
No one moved. A long silence followed Telemachus's outburst. It was broken at last by Agelaus, son of Damastor.
My friends,
He remarked,
when the right thing has been said, carping criticism and resentment are out of place. Let nobody maltreat this stranger, or any of the noble Odysseus's household. And now I have a friendly suggestion to make to Telemachus and his mother, in the hope that you will both accept it. As long, Telemachus, as you and your mother could still cherish the hope that noble Odysseus would one day come home, no one could be angry with you for holding back and keeping the suitors waiting. It was in your interest, had Odysseus really succeeded in finding his way back. But it is obvious by now that he is not destined to do so. So go and sit by your mother and tell her to marry the man among us who is the most distinguished and most generous with wedding presents, and then you will enjoy your inheritance at ease, with plenty to eat and drink while she looks after her new husband's house.
I swear to you, Agelaus, the thoughtful Telemachus replied, I swear by Zeus and by the sufferings of my father, who, I suppose, is a long way from Ithaca, and either dead or lost, that I am certainly not delaying my mother's marriage, that I am urging her to make her choice and marry again, and that I promise her a most generous settlement. But I'd feel ashamed to drive her from the house against her will. May the gods save me from that. Pallas Athene had fuddled the suitors' wits to such effect that they greeted Telemachus's reply with peal after peal of uncontrollable laughter. But before long their laughing faces took on a strained and alien look. Blood was spattered on the food they ate. Their eyes were filled with tears, their hearts with foreboding of grief. And now the voice of the godlike prophet Theoclymenus was heard.
Unhappy men,
He cried,
what horror is this that has descended on you? Your heads, your faces, and your knees are veiled in night. The air is ablaze with lamentation. Cheeks are streaming with tears. The walls and lovely alcoves are splashed with blood. The porch is filled with ghosts, so is the court. Ghosts hurrying down to darkness and to the underworld. The sun is blotted out from heaven, and a foul mist has crept upon the world.
They laughed at him. They laughed delightedly with one accord. And Polybus's son, Eurymachus, got up and shouted,
Our new friend from abroad is out of his mind. Quick, you fellows, show him out, and direct him to the assembly place. He imagines it is night in here.
Eurymachus,
the godlike Theoclymenus retorted.
I want no help from you to find my way. I have eyes and ears and 2 feet of my own, and a sound enough head on my shoulders, quite enough to get me through those doors where I am going now. For I see, advancing on you all, a catastrophe which you cannot hope to survive or shun. No, not a single one of you with your brutal acts and reckless plots here in the home of godlike Odysseus.
And with that he strode from the splendid palace and sought out Piraeus, who gave him a warm welcome. But the suitors, after exchanging glances, all began to bait Telemachus by holding up his guests to ridicule.
Telemachus,
said one young man, and his sneer was typical of the rest.
there never was a man so unfortunate with his guests. First you drag in this grubby tramp. All he wants is food and drink. He has never heard of a hard day's work. In fact, he is just a burden on the earth. And now up jumps another to play the prophet. You'd much better take my advice. Let's clap these friends of yours on board a fast ship to Sicily, where you could sell them for a profit.
Telemachus ignored these comments. He kept his mouth shut and his eyes fixed on his father, watching for the moment when Odysseus would be ready to attack the shameless suitors. The prudent Penelope, Icarius's daughter, had placed her beautiful chair where she was able to hear every word spoken by the men in the hall. They had slaughtered cattle freely, and amid shouts of laughter had prepared a delicious and appetizing midday meal. But as for their supper, nothing less palatable could be imagined than the fare which a goddess and a strong man were soon to spread before them. But it was their villainy that had started it all.